The sun blazed down on the open highway, heat waves rising from the pavement. Cars flew by in both directions, the drivers too busy, too distracted, or too indifferent to notice the man standing beside his broken motorcycle. He looked like trouble tattoos. Crawling up his arms, leather vest faded and torn, beard thick and scruffy. His bike leaned awkwardly on the side of the road, smoke rising from the engine. He wiped sweat from his brow, adjusting the bandana tied around his head, and glanced down the road again. No one was slowing down. He had been stranded for over an hour. A few cars had slowed for a moment, only to speed off again once they got. A closer look. Maybe it was the tattoos. Maybe it was the bike. People saw what they wanted to see: a rough biker with a bad attitude, probably dangerous. No one saw the exhaustion on his face or the frustration in his eyes. He didn't wave anymore. It was clear no one was going to stop. Just when he was about to give up and push the bike into the nearby gravel lot, an old blue pickup truck slowed down and pulled over ahead of him. The door opened, and a man in dusty jeans and a work shirt stepped out, wiping grease off his hands with a rag. He looked to be in his late 40s, with a calm, steady way about him. You need a hand? He asked, approaching the bike. The biker hesitated, then nodded. She overheated. Engine locked up a few miles back. Been trying to cool it down, but it's not looking good. The man nodded, walking around the bike slowly. I'm Joe. I run a repair shop just a few miles down the road. Got tools, lift, cold water, and air conditioning. Want me to tow you over? The biker blinked, surprised. Yeah, sure. That'd be real kind of you. Joe returned to his truck, pulled out a portable hitch, and within minutes had the motorcycle loaded up. He handed the biker a bottle of water without saying a word. The two men rode together in silence for a while, the biker occasionally glancing at Joe like he couldn't believe someone had actually stopped. Back at the shop, Joe set to work immediately. He didn't ask questions, didn't mention money, and didn't make assumptions. He just worked. The biker watched from a bench in the shade, quiet, respectful. Hours passed. Joe took apart the engine piece by piece, cleaning it, checking seals, replacing bolts, and patching the cracked coolant line. By sunset, the bike looked better than it had that morning. When Joe finally stood up, wiping sweat from his forehead, the biker looked at him with a strange mix of respect and gratitude. You didn't have to do all this, he said. Nobody else even stopped. Joe shrugged. Didn't look like anyone else was gonna. You needed help. That's enough. The biker nodded slowly, something in his expression shifting. He said thank you, shook Joe's hand firmly, and promised to return in the morning. Joe figured that was that. Just another long day at the shop. But what he didn't know was that the man he had helped was someone the world would recognize, just not in biker clothes. The next morning, just as Joe was opening the garage and wiping last night's dust off his workbench, a sleek black SUV pulled into the gravel lot. It stood out against the backdrop of old trucks and rusty cars that usually filled the space. The tinted window rolled down, and to Joe's surprise, out stepped the same man he had helped the day before. But he looked different. No leather vest, no bandana, no grease on his hands. He was clean-shaven, dressed in a tailored black suit, and wore a silver watch that probably cost more than Joe's entire tool collection. Joe stood still, wiping his hands on a rag, confused but calm. The man walked up, extended his hand, and gave Joe a quiet smile. I figured I owed you a proper thank you, he said. Joe shook his hand slowly. Didn't expect you back dressed like that. The man laughed. Didn't expect to be stuck on the side of the road either. But here we are. He paused for a moment, looking around the modest garage. You didn't ask for money. You didn't ask who I was. That's rare. Joe shrugged. Didn't matter. You needed help. That's what mattered. The man nodded, then reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded check. He handed it to Joe, who took it hesitantly, not sure what he was looking at. When he opened it, his hands went still. It was a real check. Signed, dated, and it was for $1 million. I'm not just some biker, the man explained. My name is Ethan Cross. I co-founded one of the largest tech firms in the country. Every year, I go off-grid for a few weeks, no suits, no security, just me on a bike. I do it to stay grounded, remind myself of who I am and what matters. Yesterday reminded me again. Joe stared at him. This has to be a joke. It's not, Ethan replied. You could have passed me like everyone else. But you didn't. You treated me like a human being. Not a stranger, not a charity case, and definitely not someone dangerous. That deserves more than a thank you. Still processing what just happened, Joe barely noticed the SUV's driver step out and unload a brand new set of professional-grade tools and a fully equipped mobile repair trailer. Ethan smiled. Also figured your shop could use a little boost. Joe didn't speak for a moment. He looked at the check, the new equipment, and the man standing in front of him. Then he did the only thing he could. He laughed, a deep, honest laugh that echoed off the garage walls. Guess I'm gonna have to repaint the sign out front, he said. Ethan grinned. Or build a bigger shop. Word spread quickly. The local news picked up the story first, and by the end of the week, Joe's garage was a trending headline nationwide. Customers came in from nearby towns and even cities, hoping to meet the mechanic who helped a billionaire without knowing who he was. Joe expanded his business, hired young mechanics from the community, and started offering free repairs for struggling families. He kept the check, framed behind the counter, not for the money, but as a reminder that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can open doors to the most unexpected places.